Okay, Ariana, I was looking at your scene and it's coming along uh, pretty good, pretty well. Let's see. I'll pull up your play blast here, and I see that you have the ear thing. It's a little slow. It needs to kind of come up like it's waking him up, like it senses. It's almost like his ear senses something before he actually wakes up. See how he's kind of hitting these little wobbly walls and stuff? You need to go in and clean that up, and I'll show you how in a second. Like you can see the keys and all the little wobbles and stuff, like right there, 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 there. When he gets up, like his foot just kind of slips underneath right here, like through the table. You can't do that stuff. You got to work it out. See, his eyes are drifting around. They're just sliding around. There needs to be kind of a sense of he's looking at something, and if he's not, you can close his eyes. You can blink them. Like when you look down at the ground and it looks like your eyes are closed. If he's doing something like that's physical like that, you can totally get away with that. A weird, like a boink there with the head. I noticed this character. I don't see any shoulders on him, so you can't really do much with that, I guess. And when he gets up, you stretch, and then when he stands up, he's kind of standing up off balance. If he's going to stand up, you got to work it out so he's not like this where his head's so far over. He's going to arc back, kind of roll up, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. And then when he turns, he kind of has that weird, see that little wobble thing there? What's going on is you have rotations on your cog, I think. It just kind of stops. You see that pause there? Whenever you see the character kind of halt, and it's not intentional, it feels like he's stopping, that stop and start kind of feeling right there. You have a pause that you don't need. You need to get rid of it. And a lot of times when people work in step, they get tons of that stuff in their work because when they unstep it, they don't realize what they did and didn't key. So then they have all kinds of weird little anomalies going on and they don't know what it was supposed to be in the first place. So here, before he flicks the can, we need a moment before he flicks it. Like he's going to do that and then he's going to hit it. You just kind of go, your arc just goes like that. It needs to go back and then hit. We need time to change direction, okay? So we'll kind of, let me move this over here. Whoops, we'll move that out of the way. Where's that at? Right there. And then I'll move this. And I'll kind of go through this a little bit. So first thing is that back in the beginning. All right, we'll start off with something easy, the ear. So the ear is kind of alerting him that something off screen is going on, right? Right now it's interpolating. So I would hold this, let's say till about 8, 7 is good, right? So it holds so the eye gets a chance to kind of adjust to the scene, and then it's going to come up, right? And then settle into that final pose. So you could do it a couple different ways. Like you could actually take this, I'll take this pose here, put it there, and middle mouse it over, right? So it gets there early, and then I'll break this down. And then I'll overshoot this so it kind of goes past it with a little drag on it. So it's going like boom, 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 like that, right? You see that? Like that. Now it's even, and we're not going to leave it like that, but that's the idea, is it goes from, it kind of comes up and then settles in, right? So we'll take this one and this one. I'll take one very close to it and kind of put it there. Just going to go from there to there, and then we would need a breakdown here. And I'll put one right there. Settle. This is kind of robotic, but you could see what I mean. It's kind of going whoa, right? We see it. He's like he's being alerted by something. Now it's way too slow, so now we'll just adjust the time on it. So we might hold this another 2 frames. And this is going to pop up quick, right? So we'll do a little slow in from here. I'll keep that keyframe and I'll move it out 1. So we see it just start to move a little bit, right? And then boom, it's going to be right there. It's going to be super fast. And then it's going to settle into this. So I'll move this close to that too. So it's going to go boom. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, a little too fast. Let's give it a frame. There we go. That's kind of like, whoop, right? But now it's drifting through here. We don't want that drift. We want it to feel like it's, like an animal's ear, like they're really precise, right? And then when it starts to move here, it's leading him over, right? What I might do is go down first, right? So when he goes this way, I would do a pose. I'll hold this and pull it over there. And then I might put a little bit of it's like an anticipation on it. So it kind of goes like that. Like that. Just real subtle, okay? So now the ear's leading, right? We see that ear kind of go, boink, right? Like, which draws our attention. Then the next thing we're going to look at, honestly, after that, is his eyes. So he needs something subtle with his eyes. I probably would just bring his brow down. So for this part, I'll just use these two. So yeah, you don't have anything in here. So it goes up. So let's hold it, and then, yeah, when he starts to, so his reaction is about there. Key that just to keep it, so, that hold, right? And then maybe and then here we'll have a little bit of an anticipation, right? So it kind of goes down, and then he'll come up. So they'll raise up about here. So we need a breakdown, so I'll put one right there. So now it's kind of, he's leading with the eyes. Oh, that looks stupid. I should stay down until he's about there, maybe. So it goes down. Yeah, and we'll speed this up. And these are just loose. This isn't like finished, but working through it. And it's too even too, right there. So let's slow that in. So I'll just take a frame very close to that one. Pull it out. I'm just stealing frames, that's all I'm doing. And it's still too abrupt. So now, since it's doing that, I'm just going to look in the graph and see what's going on here. So I'll come in, and it's just too big of a jump, so I'll just soften it in the graph. So I'll grab this, and I'll kind of pull these down a little so it kind of cushions into it. And then what I'll do is I call cut the edge off. I'm going to cut the edge off of these guys, right? Let me make that bigger so it's easier to see. So if we isolate this guy and hit F, it goes boom, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften that. So I'm just going to use the I middle mouse. So hold down I middle mouse, bang, put a key right there. And I'll just drop that, and then I'll adjust it a little bit. So it's like a roller coaster, right? You can't just go to a drop in one foot. It'll rip your neck off, rip your head off. And then this should be probably done more like that. So it kind of tapers back into this. And then this kind of hits a wall too. It goes boom, and then stops. So I'm going to cushion that in just a smidgen. Okay. So now I'll do the same thing with this one. I'm going to control or command select so I can see this one as well at the same time. Kind of frame of reference, right? Just mirror what I did down there. There. Been using Photoshop. My hotkeys are getting mixed up here, so I'm just going to drop that down. Yeah, okay, so right there. I don't want it to be exactly the same, so I'm going to probably raise this up a little, drop this down, and then I might move this a frame closer, and then rekey it, and then drop that down just a smidgen, just to make sure it does what I want it to do. But if you give Maya an inch, it'll totally put in wobbles and all kinds of stuff that you don't want it to do. So there's my roller coaster. Oops. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to put another one here. Just soften that a little bit. So now it kind of rolls down, right? So let's watch it. It's probably going to look terrible. There we go. It's kind of coming down a little nicer. So now he has a little bit of an eye movement, which means it's implying that whatever he heard is making his noodle kind of think. So I think I might move that to about there. So it's a little early, so I'm going to move this there. See what that looks like. Yeah, so then it kind of leads into getting up. And I think all this eyebrow stuff we don't need. We'll keep it here. Right there. I don't need that one. I'll just copy this one over here. So now we have a little bit of brow going on. And then now we'll get to cleaning up his neck and all that stuff. So you're hitting these walls, right? It's going boom, wow, right there. You see that? It's like it's interpolating over. That's all that's happening here. Is your neck is interpolating from one key to the next. See, there's nothing in here hardly. From there to there. And so if we look at it on the graph, we'll see that, let me clean that up. It's just interpolating from one key to the next. All right, so let's get in here a little tighter. So it's just going from one key to the next. So Maya's doing all the work. It's interpolating, basically. That's all it's doing. So if that's what you have, then you need to break it down, right? So if we're going right from here to here, we know we don't want it to go generically, right? I don't think, and you don't want to just use one channel. See how you're just rotating one channel here? So you have to ask yourself, what's leading the action here? I would say probably the head. Like the head's going to lead before the body moves, right? So let's grab these guys. I'm going to break them down first. I'm going to put a key there and a key there. So it'll move a little bit here and lead into the action. Okay. It's still kind of extreme, but. And then we're going to look at the neck and the head and see what's happening here. This is moving slightly. But I would say that if he's going to start to move up, let's say like right there, his head isn't going to move first, his neck is, right? So from here to there, let's say his neck goes that far, his head is going to be still kind of down here. So he's going to go from here to there, maybe even more. And then it's going to come up. So it's going to delay and then come up. You got a lot of things fighting. Like you got rotation here you don't need. This is what happens when you kind of like put in a placeholder and then put in another placeholder and you don't kind of work your way through the movement. Now you're kind of like, how do I get through this? Right? Is that the cause? It is. Oh, weird. There's all these channels on it. Huh. Make sure that's keyed, and then we will go and delete by type set of channels. There we go. Okay, you got these rotations that they're not really helping. So what is that? That is Y. So I'm looking over at the graph here real quick. Okay. Now you don't want that slippage. It just feels like he's got some sort of, like there's an imaginary or an invisible wheel around him and there's some guy pulling it. See what it means? Like twisting him. Okay, so and you have a step curve here. Yeah, I really do hate step. I never use it. I don't. I mean, it's good if you want to make things not move, but I think that's something else as well. Yeah, it's not. It's not actually Y. Z. Okay, so let's look at what's going on over here. And just double checking and see what's happening. I'm going to look at this. So he starts to rotate that way. Okay, so I don't think we need any of this. Maybe you could start to turn there. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'll drag this off. Okay, let's make sure it's the right value. That's okay. So he turns. You don't need that rotation. That actually helps a lot. Okay. So now I'm just kind of cleaning up and adding stuff at the same time. Because you're kind of at the point where you have to, you're going for final now. You're trying to finish it. So we need to start to do that. So let's see. Put that back movement. It's kind of like once you fix one thing, then something else is staring right at you going, fix me. Okay. If you're wondering what I'm doing, that button there is, if you go to Edit, Delete by Type, Static Channels, I made a button to put on the shelf. I always use it. It gets rid of, so if you hit the S key, like this, and you hit that button, it gets rid of all those extra channels that aren't doing anything. Okay. I think a lot of it too is like, you see how the arms is sliding? Like you have a lot of things that are kind of just swimming around. Like you have all these little things happening that aren't really defined, so it's hard to tell what's happening. Let's see. A lot of it is just because you're leading it with the cog. When you rotate the cog, you're just making the body do all this stuff, right? And then you have to counter everything else when it wouldn't really work like that. So I'm going to get rid of that rotation too. We don't need that rotation. Well, I guess it's not going to matter. We'll tone this guy down. This one too. It's kind of making the body wag. What that means, if you look at it from this direction, wagging, it's like it's wagging like a tail. It's going back, back and forth there. You see what I mean? It's like doing this broad movement, but you don't quite need it. Let's make sure we get the right orientation for the rotations. Let's set the object. Probably just lazy rigging. Okay. Z, the right one? Yeah, of course not. Okay, yeah, it's going and hitting that wall there. So what's he doing? Is he good enough there? Okay, so he's lifting his head up to see. Okay. And so actually, let me go back and rekey this. We will do select all. just so that all the keys are together. So I think we can get rid of some of this stuff in here, simplify it. So if we go, where's the keys here? We have this one, obviously. So there's the key. Get rid of that one. Just going to go into that. There's the key. There's the key. Don't need those. 1, 2. Kind of hitting a wall there, so I'm going to key it before it and after it, and then get rid of that one. Cut the edge off. And then just going to, okay, there's one there, so we'll get rid of these two. Don't need those. Serious wobbling going on here. Okay, so there's, we'll put there. And I'll get rid of that one. I'm just going through and cutting the edge off ones because you have a lot of stuff that's isolated. When you do that, it makes it kind of wobble. So the body just stops right there. So you have you kind of have a lot of movements that are like you'll move the body a little bit, and then it freezes, and the head keeps moving. It totally just stops, which makes it feel like very isolated. So if there's our key, right? Let's see there. I'll drag this out so we have a little bit of, so it slows into that. Okay, that'll help with that part. Head necks is all over the place. Okay. There. Stitch left on. What did I do there? These are just wobbles, basically. They're not doing anything. So we'll make this the key. We'll put them here, and we'll pull it back, and we'll slow it. Okay, and then we probably need time there. Let's watch it. Just give it a moment there. And so we'll add some time to the scene, just a little bit. Okay. Like so. And then see how everything's moving at the same time? You've got to lead with stuff, right? So if he's going to move over here and then open his eyes or whatever he's doing, you need to see it. You prepare the audience for what's going to happen. So if he's going to turn here, let's lead with his head then. Right, so we'll put a key right there. And then we'll kind of lead the action with that head. Like that, right? So now the head's leading us into it. Yeah, that's a little better. Now you just have this, again, when you grab that cog, and you do this stuff with it, you always get this kind of hinged feeling like there's some sort of invisible force rotating and moving them if you don't pose put in breakdowns. So it's just interpolating up. Like you need to lead with the upper body and the back. The cog will not rotate like that. It's going to be delayed. So I'll put that. Try that. It's still going to be delayed. That's a little better. But you got to get the arms planted before the upper body can move. He's got to have a firm, not footing, but placement for the hands. So he's getting up there. So when he goes to move over here, move his hand into position so he can brace himself, which would be there, right? So we need to move that earlier. So when he's about there, he's going to slip that hand back kind of quick. Just generically put it there. And that's getting there. So I'm going to take this actually and make a breakdown. Where's it not moving? Okay. Do that one. Do that one. I'll delete this one. It starts to ease into it. I'll put one very close to this one to slow it in. So it kind of zips like that. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. It looks like he can push himself here. Might even need to get there a frame earlier, because it's got to get there before he starts to move up. Yeah, so get that arm back. That's too quick. Do that. There we go. See, now it feels like he's pushing himself up. Okay, so that's better. Okay, so I'm hoping that you kind of see what I'm getting to. I'm looking at the mechanics and I'm going, what can I do to make this feel like work with what you have for one, but also define it so it feels like it's doing what you want it to do and not just kind of moving. Now it feels like he's getting up there. So I'm not going to go through the whole scene like this. That's your job. But I would say you need to go through your scene now and do that. Define the action. So how I was thinking, well, the hand has to push him up, so I have to move the hand earlier and all that stuff. So the easiest way, usually when I do something like this, especially because he's got contact on the ground, he's leading with the hands to get himself moving, right? So I would make sure you get all that defined. I probably would do that in his spine, in his head and neck and all that, get that working in the beginning. Because once you start doing that, like I was doing, it kind of gets you in a rhythm where you can see where it's leading you to the next part, because you got the first part kind of defined. And then after I did that hand right there, then I look, okay, well, what's next, right? I'll go, actually, he's got some wobbles in his head. Right, it's his body, actually, right through here. These are they're not defined because you didn't break them down. They're just like, they just move and stop, right? You see him rotate down and stop. Can't do that. Whenever you do stuff like that, all you're going to get, all you're going to get is robotic-looking movement, right? So it starts to move right there. So I'm looking at it in the graph. It's right there. I can see it, right? So then you could kind of like, it's hard to do because with this, graph editor, I need it big enough to see it. I usually have it on my second monitor, so I'll just kind of do it blindly here. But if I see something like this, right, and it feels like it's jumping like it is here. Right there, it just kind of starts to interpolate me. It feels kind of robotic, and then it just stops. And part of it is this one too. I'll literally just go in, hold on a minute, and just put in some breakdown kind of keys that started earlier, like a frame earlier. Like I'll take this one, I'll go here and go I middle mouse, boom, put a key there, and delete this. So now it'll taper in a frame earlier. So now it's a little softer, right? And then it kind of goes boom right there and stops. Just talking about these guys, right? So then I'll do the same thing here. I'll see where does it do, where does it kind of go and hit a little, it's right there. So then I'll just go in again, put in a keyframe right there, and I'll delete that. So it softens it a frame. It'll kind of, then it'll kind of bleed into it a little bit, which doesn't sound good, but it's better than having it really just kind of lock out like that. And then this one looks like it needs to be delayed a frame or two because it's, you know, it's a spine, so it's a chain. So I'll put it a frame back. And then it just kind of goes boom right there again. You get another hit. There's a little like right there. I think that's the neck. That's not that bad. Let's take the spine as a unit now, and I want to put my keys on the same frames. So I'll go through and look for the most important keys for the spine here. Who's doing these guys, right? Actually, grab it here. See more buttons? Okay, so I will go through and it starts to move here. Right, so I'm going to hit Shift E just to make sure I get everything on the same frame. There. Shift E there. I'm just going in on twos. Shift E there. Boom, boom. Shift E. Boom, boom. Shift E. That's just for rotations. Shift E. And I'm going to go in and delete every other frame because we don't need them. They're redundant now. Because they're all keyed on the same frame. When you do things with the rotations, you can get away with that. So now it's kind of simplified. So now we have it on twos, this part. So then I can go in and I can edit timing if I want to. It's a lot easier. Okay. And now you've got some head wobbles and stuff. I'm going to leave that to you to fix. Right there too. I think it's your head is a little bit, you know, no pun intended, but ahead of the game. When you're moving the body, you always have to ask yourself what's leading the action. And generally, when you're tired, your head doesn't lead, right? Your head follows. So if he got up here, he might put his head up, and then as he comes forward, it might drag a bit. It's the head and the neck. But just try to clean this part up here so it doesn't wobble around. Let's look at that actually, real quick. I can probably find what's going on there. What that is. It's probably might be that one. And if you see the curves on both, you know, on both sides of the, you see the handles here. That's a wobble. It might just be a settle, but you want to turn it like that. And it's kind of reversing quickly. It's going boom, boom. That's probably what's happening. So I'll go ahead and grab the neck again. Again, I'll just key it on the frames that I like and then delete the extra keys and just redo. So here I probably would have a little bit more drag. I'll get rid of that one. There, that's alright, so I'll get rid of these. And then roll through it like that, right? And then it'll come up and not freeze, right? It's gonna have a little bit of a swell in there. So I'll just slide this over, take one very close to it, move it back. And kind of, it's a little too fast. Try that. It's a little better. Kind of a bit of a pause there. I like that one better. So I'll keep those two and I'll delete that one in the middle. It's like shaving the edge off of it. So that's kind of rolling through. Oh, because it's going with the body too, that's right. Yeah. You could probably soften that too. I'll do this one, delete that one, the edge off, boom. Another kind of edge in there. Okay, so now you have a moment where he looks up, and it's not perfect, but it's there now. And then he gets up, he uses his hand to push up. So, and just look for things like this where the foot is kind of, it's just interpolating. This stuff is killing your animation, right? And I don't know why your pole vectors are way out here in outer space. You should have it closer so you can control them. So here, get rid of all this interpolating stuff. It's either moving or it isn't moving, right? If it's doing something, what's it doing, and why is it doing it? And then if you don't know why, then there's probably you don't need it. But this would probably hang there a little longer. And then maybe come up. It's not going to rotate on its own. It's not going to do that. It's going to translate. And you'll probably, okay, then he does move from there. So I'll do that in the graph, actually. I'll take the graph editor, okay. And I know I think it's Z, I don't know what this now. Let's see. Translate Z. Let's put it there, and then you might lead a little bit, and then it's going to start to translate up. Yep, see, okay. Actually, I think he might move up a little bit. It's like when he pushes off with the hand, then his leg could move. So I probably would hold off before it moves until he gets pushed up. Then he could slide his leg because he doesn't have the leverage to do it there. It feels a little out of place. Puts the hand down. So we'll take that and move it up. Puts the hand down, pushes up. Then he would move that leg. It's not going to just go like that either. You probably would use that to lead into this. It's really close right there. So we might be able to move this up. Back, I should say. Get rid of that pause. Just lead it right into the next section. that, get rid of that. And go right into that. It's slipping all over. Okay, so he couldn't get his foot there and slide his body there. He's got to put his foot about here. Unless he puts his weight on the other foot. Yeah, this is all just mechanics, logistics kind of stuff. Unless I like reanimate the whole thing, I can't really. And stop putting your pole vectors way out so far away. Is that right? Oh, is this? Oh, let me guess. They're not set up. Are they following the body? All over the place. Yeah, it's fun. That's why I say have it follow the world, the world, not the body. But let's see. So if you're in a position like this, where you get the foot planted, you have to ask yourself, well, how is he going to get up? Right? He can't do this. This is like magic, right? So he's going to plant that foot. It's going to get planted earlier then. Because he needs some kind of foundation. Like if you're going to get up off the ground, you need like at least 3 points, which is 2 hands and a foot, 2 feet and a hand. You can technically do it with 1 foot and 1 arm, but it's really hard. So for us mortals, we need a freaking foot spot for lockdown. Okay, so we're going to get that foot there. Alright, oops. Okay, so now we get the foot there. Now when he goes to get up, it kind of feels a little bit more plausible, right? But you're going to have to do some trickery to get him on that foot. Right? So if he's going to do this and start to get up, you can't be having the elbows and stuff. You got to set this up so it looks like he's pushing off with those hands. Like he's got his weight on him. Right? That way he can lift his butt up to do what he's trying to do. Like his hand can't be swimming around. You gotta get it in its position. Otherwise, it's like it throws your eye off. If you don't define this stuff, it throws the eye off. And then you just get lost. Like, well, what do I do? You got to build the foundation first. So he can't be slipping around. I'm going to put his hand there and then lock it. So it's there. There it is. Yeah. I'm going to put it there. It's going to stay there. Why is it still moving? Stay there. Okay. It's got fingers and elbows all over the place. What is that? That's better. Okay, so if he's getting up here. So now we got the hands in place. Let's look at his center of gravity. Okay, so I get the foot there. It looks weird, but from that angle we can probably cheat it. So what he's going to do to get up, he would literally have to push up with this and then roll over onto this foot. But let's look at it from the camera angle. He might be able to get away with cheating it. So, yeah, I think we can get away with that. You just got to fix this weird knee stuff. Just bow it out so it comes out like this a little bit, or it's pointing at us, so it doesn't draw attention to itself. Maybe like a hiccup there. You need to get rid of that. Don't lock out the leg there. And then when you get to the stagger part, like I'll try and wrap this up here. I'll talk all day. You can do a stagger. It's pretty easy to do. I'll show you real fast. Select all. Okay. Please clean up all that stuff. Okay. So let's go from there. Do everything. That's 162. We'll go to 182. Okay, 162. Yes, to 182. Yes, make sure we got everything set. That's good. 182. Okay, so I'm going to key this one too. And I believe it's in the middle. Okay, so this is pretty much interpolating anyway, right? You should be going back here, but once you see what I do, then you can apply it to your, when you fix this. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and key everything. Because it's an even movement, you can get away with this. I'll go 162, 169, boom. That's a good job there. Get rid of that. Okay. 3, 30. So then I'll take 165 and move it there. Take 167, yeah. So every other frame I'm grabbing and moving it in front of the frame that came before it. So every other frame, you select it and then move it over before the frame that came before it. So you get that chicka 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 thing going. Okay, and then I'll put a little space here between these two. Okay, so let me save this real quick. If I play blast it and then it dies, it's not good. Alright, save it. So let's see. So I think you can already see kind of what I'm getting at here. But for that stretch, it'll give you like a nice kind of feel, you know what I mean? So let's just save this. I found the project. Yeah. Oh, it didn't. Oh, I thought I made the folders for it. Oh well. We'll just call it. Just okay. Let's see it. You see what I mean? You get like a nice stretch. So that's kind of what I meant for that part. So all you do is keyframe it like I did. Every other frame, you delete the first, like let's say you started on frame 1, and then you're going to frame 31, right? Then you go through and you key every frame, boom, 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 because it's an even movement. So it has to be a slow, even progression. And Maya does that perfectly. So then you go in and you key every single frame. So let's say you started on 1, you go 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 31. Go back, delete 2, and then take 4 and move it in front of 3, 6 in front of 5, 8 in front of 7. You just go down the, and then make sure you might add a frame at the end so it doesn't just pop out of it. But then you'll get a nice effect like this for the stretch, like that. Okay, and I just do the whole character together. I don't do it individually because you want it to feel like everything's working in unison. Okay, and I'm going to leave it there. Major things I want you to focus on though is like you saw me cleaning up that stuff. I'll include this file since I did a bunch of stuff on it. You can use it if you want. I don't care. If it helps you get kind of step forward with this, you can kind of see how I did it. After watching the video, I know this is long. I'm sorry. I always do that. But there's so much information I want to share, and it's just hard to do in a 15-minute video. You know what I mean? So fix the arcs. Make sure you have your things like the feet planted, you know, and the hands and the feet planted when they need to be, so there's a foundation. How you're going to get them up, and just think like cartoon animation, right? What's leading, you know, like a Tom and Jerry cartoon, or like a Disney cartoon, like Goofy or something like. He's probably going to lead. They always lead with something, right? Like his butt is going. If he's standing up and he's tired, he's going to lead with his butt, and then his body will come up like kind of a whip, right? Or if he's tired and you're going to drag that head and neck up, you know, what's leading the action? It's not the head, it's the shoulders. Or maybe it is the head. Maybe he snaps out of it and wakes up. But you got to get your foundation set. You got to get those little pauses taken out where you hit those plateaus. That comes from working step. Because if you don't put enough breakdowns in when you're keyframing your animation, you're going to get those. It automatically puts plateaus, and it sets you up for a lot of annoying back and forth if you don't go in and break down your movement enough. So arcs, first get your foundation, get your hands and feet set, work out the action, how it's going to take place, get rid of the plateaus, and look for opportunities where you can lead with something and also, you know, dragging as well. Okay, and once you get through that, you need to make sure the facial expressions work with the body. And I mentioned this before I forget. At the end, when he comes up, right, and then he goes like that wobble right there, that's what I was fixing before. There's a plateau, there's a pause there. Actually, I'll just do it. Why not? We're already here. We're still here. All right, let's see. Let me go back to, I'm sorry. I always do this. Okay, so let's see where that pause is. I think it's right there. What you have is a direction change in the middle of the action. You don't need it. Okay, so let's see. It's right there. You have a wobble, which you have a rotation tilt counter going, and you have a directional kind of change going on. I can see it's right there. See how it stands out from the rest of it? We might be able to just delete it. So let's go from here. So I'm going to hit Shift W and E, so let's make sure it's covered. Shift W and E, and I'm going to just delete this. See what we get. See that plateau right there? Weird. All that stuff comes when, well, anyway. Cool. Okay, so now we can see what's happening. It's better. Okay, well that's not totally done, but you just had a bad key in there. And it feels like this overly cranked hip. It's kind of like you're like, I want him to be in this pose here, and you put his body there before he has the ability to do it. Because he's got to lift that big honking foot up. Does he have a hip control? That's his spine, isn't it? Yeah, that's his spine. Well, then you're going to have to lift his center of gravity, I guess, here. Yeah, I probably would. He puts his foot down, let's see, there. He plants it. Actually, he needs to plant it. You need to plant that foot. Don't just like let it interpolate its way over. So the best way to do it is take that one, copy it over, and then just lift the foot up. So if we take his, let's see, is the ball up there? No. Go up there. Yeah, like that. So you just go boom, boom, boom. So this would be, yeah, that's not too bad. And it would be quicker too. Yeah, it's going to come up before he comes down. And it only takes like 2 frames basically. Maybe it's just too much. One, two, three. Still too slow. I think it's throwing me off too with the body. Yeah, the foot needs to come off the ground. You've got to get rid of the sliding. Like the foot should be locked. I don't know why you haven't done that yet. That's one of the first things you do. Once you get rid of all that stuff. You have to find the position of the foot and keep it there. Because everything on top of it is off if you do it that way. If you don't lock it down, then everything is on a weak foundation. Literally. Okay, so here, boom, boom, boom. So he would be more this way, over here. He's coming from here. He needs to be over that leg, right? So here he would actually be more over there, like that. Yeah, he's still going to be over there. Oops. Get over there. Yeah, and here he can start to plant that foot. His weight will still be over here. Then once he plants the weight on that foot, then he can settle into it. Boom, it'll feel better. Already feels better. And then you're going to have to counter animate this because his foot, you have that hip dipping. Like here, it feels like you need. This is why you want a character with hip control, so you don't have to keep counter animating all this stuff. So it kind of goes boom like that, and then you can't snap it back like that either. That. Boom. To get that foot over there. Okay? So I'll leave it there. Oh, and the can flicking thing. You need to give them a moment. Like here, you put the hand down, then up, then I don't know what's happening, but the flick needs to be like, if you're going to do something like, let's see, like it's going the wrong way. Like if he's flicking it, you need to get the hand, if you have it up here like this, then we need to see it kind of go up and then boom, hit it, right? Or go down, bing, and then flick it. So you need at least a good 18 frames of a pause for the hand before you flick it. Okay, right now it kind of you lose it. Like it's hard to tell where it's happening. It's not really that clear. So when it goes down here, let's say here, and then he's gonna flick it there. You want his hand's gonna drag probably, and then flick it. So his hand will come in and go, bing, and that finger will literally roll out in like 1 frame. So here it'll be like this. And flick it, okay? And he needs to arc. All right, I'm going to stop there. Okay, all right.